So prior to Einstein, E equals mc squared, the scientific community believed that energy and matter were separate entities, like two separate things, right? That energy was by itself an entity and matter by itself was an entity. And this was considered classical physics or Newtonian physics, right? So they believe that, like, particles is where it ended, right? Like, particles were the fundamental building blocks and they were solids. But then again, E equals mc squared came and showed and proved that they're not separate entities. That energy and mass is actually the same. They're actually the same. The only difference is states. The only difference between energy and mass is states. And this is what E equals mc squared. I mean, that's the gist of it. That's what Einstein figured out. That's what he discovered. That's what he wanted to reveal to us. So E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared, which squared is the speed of light is c squared, which is an extremely large number. That would be a number that number would be, how can I say it? That number would be displayed with scientific notations. Right. Right, because there's no way to quantify. Like, that number is just too big, right? So, but why am I having this discussion? What does this even mean, right? Like, what does this apply to, right? Is to show us that I'm mass, right? You're mass. We're all mass, because all mass is, for those who don't know, is stuff. That's it. Your mass is separate from your weight. Your weight is the force of gravity pulling down on your mass. Your mass is the stuff that you're composed of, you're made of, everything you're made of. Your lungs, your heart, your kidneys, your small intestines, your large intestines, every single cell, right? That's all mass. Mass is stuff. Your weight is the amount, the exertion, right? The exertion of gravity on mass. So the more mass you have, the more exertion gravity will put or pull on your mass, which gives you your weight. That's the difference between mass and weight. People use it interchangeably, but they're actually different. But so you and I are mass. We're all existing in mass. And what's important, why E equals mc squared is important, and the revelation, the discovery that mass and energy are not separate entities. Again, prior to Einstein, they were considered separate. But after this discovery of E equals mc squared, there is no separation. So what that means is that as physical beings that exist in a state of mass, what we really are is energy. And again, what we really are is energy. What every human being that you see walking around really is energy. And that energy coagulates. Coagulate means to gel. Imagine putting putting water in a freezer. The water coagulates. The water molecules coagulates, which simply means they solidify and form ice. But the water molecules doesn't change itself because it's still H2O. But the state has changed from a liquid to a solid, or jello. You put jello in the fridge, it's liquid. You come back, it coagulates, it becomes gel. So what that means is that all of us human beings are energy. We're energy. That's all we are. We're pure energy that has coagulated, which means solidify or transmuted into what's called mass. And now we can see, feel, touch, taste, you see each other. We're mass. But we're actually energy that's existing in a state of mass. This is very important to understand, because if we have a true in-depth understanding of this, then we'll know what rooms we should be in, what rooms we should never enter, and what rooms we need to get out of. No matter what is being said, no matter what the allurement may be, no matter what the enticements, no matter what the trappings, if you understand that that energy, when you look at Dmitry Medvedev, who came out sometime in the late 20th century, I believe, with the periodic table, which consists of all 118 elements that makes up the universe. if you look at how the family of elements are organized, right? The way they're arranged, it shows you that there are very specific organization of elements because not all elements can combine. Some are combustible, some are flammable, others just simply don't mix. Then there are those that's called like noble gases that gels well. And if you understand that, it's just like your energy, I'm energy, everybody's and based off the periodic table, there are energies that just will never, ever, ever, ever harmonize. They will never amalgamate, which is another way of saying mix, blend. And if you understand this, then when you interact with people and when you go into a meeting or when you meet somebody new, this is why you can judge a person by the book. You can. That saying is just a clever saying made to deceive you over the years by some idiot. Don't judge a book by the cover. It's just a clever, very shrewd adage or saying that it sounds good. So a lot of people adapt that saying because it sounds good and on its surface it makes sense. But if you really scratch the surface, you realize it's bullshit. You should judge a book by the cover, because if you have not read that book, all you have is the cover. And sometimes in life you have a split second to make a decision that can be life or death, or can be trouble or not trouble. So you don't have time to read the book, so you have to make an assumption based off the cover, and that's totally fine. Even if you're wrong, it's fine. Better to make the assumption and be wrong than not to make the assumption and find out that you were right. Now you're in some ish. You know what I'm saying? Because you didn't want to make an assumption. It's okay, right? Yeah. So this whole energy concept, if you understand that we're all energy and you understand the periodic table, basically, some basics about the periodic table. You don't have to have an in-depth understanding, just some basics. And you know certain things, then once you meet someone, you'll immediately look beyond their physical and you'll feel them. You will feel them the second you meet them. You will feel them because energy, in the context of what we're discussing, energy is it's an emotion. Emotion, which is energy. The E in emotion is something called what's the word? I can't remember the word, but it means to rearrange letters and you get different words or whatever. Damn, I can't believe this word slipped my mind, so let's put my tongue. All right, forget it. It'll come the minute I stop thinking about it. It's gonna come back to me. But E is energy and motion is motion. So energy is emotion is energy in motion. So you'll feel a person's energy. Immediately you walk into a room, you will feel it. You'll become what's called spiritually sensitized, right? You become spiritually sensitized. So you become very sensitive to the energy in every person. Because remember, we're all energy. So no matter how the person look, you'll become sensitized, not desensitized, but sensitized to the energy that is radiating out of the person, emanating, coming off of the person. Immediately, in seconds, you'll feel the energy. You'll feel it because it's an emotion. And a lot of times we ignore the feelings. We ignore our gut, right? Because the person might look good, or they sound good, or they smell good. They appeal to some of our senses, our 5 senses. They might sound good. That's our ears. So they appeal to they tickle our ears with their fancy words. Could be. Or their seductive words, or their alluring and enticing words, right? They might be seducing the eyes, the sense of sight. They might look good. So they're very seductive to the eyes. They charm the eyes. You know what I'm saying? They're eye candy. So then you get tricked by your own sense of sight. They might have a perfume on that smells good. And now your sense of smell becomes your own imprisonment, because now you're trapped by their smell and you're not feeling their energy, right? So they might taste good, they might feel good in the sense of touch. So it's interesting how our 5 base sensory system can work against us. So it's interesting to be very acute, right? Be acute with your 5 state based sensory system. Be acute with that, but also be acute with your 6th sense, which is your spiritual sense, right? Your spiritual sense will never steer you wrong. Your five base sensory system, you can't trust it, because the five base sensory system can be deceived easily. I just gave you some examples. So you want to focus more on your sixth sense, which has to do with the imaginative mind, the spirit, the mind of God, your imagination, or your, you can call it your spiritual sense, right? Like I said, become spiritually sensitive to the energy, because that's what we are. The word human is spelled Human. Hue is another word for a shade of color. And if you study color, you know that there is no such thing as color. Color is just the refraction of light. There is no such thing as color, meaning there's no intrinsic value to a color. Like, you can't find the nature of red. It has no nature. You can't find the nature of gray because it has no nature. There's no inherent quality to color. Color does not have an inherent quality. What color is light, right? That has interacted with air molecules. And that interaction creates what's called refraction or reflection, right? It can either reflect, it can refract, it bends, whatever. When that light is bent, it creates what we call color because of the interaction with the molecules, with the atoms in the air molecules. But there is no such thing as color in and of itself. It is only light interacting with the electrons within molecules, and how the light interacts with those properties reflects or refracts and creates within our retina. We have what's called cones, right? Cones, right? And they're responsible for image. So our retina interact with these the properties of these atoms within these air molecules, which is interacting with the light, and then we now see what's called color. But there is no such thing as color. So hue, the word hue, right, it means a shade of color, right? Hue is a shade of color. Man, and we know, I just told you, color, there is no such thing as intrinsic value in color. Color is light. So hue, which we define as color, and color we know is light, the word human means man of light, or light man, or light body, because that's what we are, energy. And energy is light, and light is, you see what I'm saying? So human just means man of color. Color is light, so it means light man, man of light, light of man, human. That's what human means, right? This is scientific, like really, esoteric knowledge. Being. The word being is a participle of the word be. So human being is a participle because it has an ing on the end. Anytime you see ing, that's a participle. And I think, if my grammar's right, I think that's is this a present participle or a being? Yeah, I believe it's a present participle of the verb to be. There you go. I still remember. It's the present participle of the verb to be. Being, present, right? Been, past, right? So being is, I believe it's a gerund, right? Because it's an action verb, right? Present participle of the verb to be, right? And you have am, is, was, were, past participles, right? Like were, was, past participles, right? Am, present participle. Being, present participle. Action verb, gerund verb, right? Where am I going? I kind of lost my thought a little bit there. Oh, all right, let me get back on track. So human is light man, or the man of light, or light being. Light being, that's what we are. We're light beings. And being is the participle of the present participle of the verb to be, to exist. So we exist as light beings. Human, light man, man of light, existing. And that's why they call us human beings. But there's nothing human about us. You see what I'm saying? We are extraterrestrial. You know what I'm saying? We're not humans at all, right? That's just a scale put over the eyes so we don't know our true powers and like really take over this world. You know what I'm saying? Like there have to be a veil. There has to be a veil. In order for you to have the hierarchy, Maslow's hierarchy and stuff like that, and have capitalism and, you know, the ruling class, what they call them, the oligarchs, you know, in order to have monopolies, you have to have a veil. And all a veil is, it's a wall or a scale that prevents a people from knowing who they really truly are. You see what I'm saying? So there must be a veil. So we use words like, oh yeah, you're just, you know, we say stuff like, oh, I'm only human. You know what I'm saying? There's songs that go, I'm only human. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're only humans. We're only humans. And we hear that. I use it. I say it. God knows there's so many times I've failed at things in life, and I got so much flaws and so much imperfections, and I make so much mistakes. I'm like, oh, you know, and I got to fall back on, you know what? When I pray to God, I say, God, remember, I'm only human. Right? So there's nothing wrong with that. But what that does is it prevents us. It's a preventative from really stepping into who we really are, or what we really are. Because those who are the supermen of the world, you know, those who run the world, the elites, you know, that ruling class, they know what they really are. Hence why they're the ruling class. You ever think it takes a very small group of people to rule an enormous amount of people? Right? You'll have like a very small group of people that like controls the masses. That's not by accident. That's by design. And that small group has figured out what they are. And when they meet in their, you know, private meetings, they understand what they are and how to unlock and how to tap into what they are, how to unleash what they are. So yeah, be your best version of yourself. Till next time, peace.